Hello out there. Welcome back, or welcome for your first time. We are here with Mr. Devin Alexander. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing real good. Thanks for having me. This is fun already.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on out. Making the journey all the way over to...
All the way
East Moline.
to exotic East Moline.
Wow, it's just... Everything's so different over here.
It's just so wild. It's relaxed but exciting.
It's about to get really exotic on the 1st once we legalize it.
That's right. We got a couple days here.
But anyhow, you do a lot of shit, don't you?
I try to stay busy. Just
keep yourself sane. That's what I do.
Yeah, keep myself sane, and also as a shield against if you've got a full calendar, you've always got something going on, and it keeps your brain lubricated, and you're trying this project and you're doing this project, and film and audio and all those good things are something that I'd rather be busy than bored.
Right. Yeah, because I've heard the phrase, like, you're not bored, you're inactive.
Yeah.
So,
and the older I get, the more I feel like I should always be working on something that has a lasting impact, or a lasting, just lasting impact, whether it's, just practicing to further my own skills, or if it's something creative that will exist, for the time that I put into it. Like, I can't, psychologically, my brain doesn't like it if I just go to someone's house and just hang out and watch TV.
I feel you, dude. Yeah,
I can't do it.
I know exactly. Yeah,
it's like I did enough of that. So now
I know, right?
Like if it's like, hey, you want to just come hang out and whatever, it's like, yeah, maybe for like an hour, and then I'm gonna get antsy, and I'm gonna be like, I should probably.
So where are your instruments at? Do you have you got anything to draw on?
You got anything here that I could? Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah, having your calendar booked, it's nice. Doing some creative shit, that's always good. And keeping the existential dread at bay and stuff.
That's the crux of it, basically. If I'm too busy, then I can't, or if I'm busy, I don't have to think about the encroaching entropy of the entire existence of all things.
Yeah, it really helps. I recommend it to anyone. But so what came first for you? You're like a musician, you do some acting, and like, what else?
Music definitely came first. All my friends in high school picked up guitars, and my dad is and was a musician, especially back then, and so he already had a bass guitar and an electric guitar and a few items. So I was the only one with a bass, so I picked up the bass and ended up playing bass with all my friends, musical projects and stuff like that, and that kind of became the instrument that I was just naturally drawn to that instrument anyways. But it worked out really well, because most of my high school friends who picked up the guitar ended up putting it down, but I kept the bass going, and a couple of my friends kept it going with guitar, and I'm still in bands with them now.
Well, that's great. Yeah, a lot of times when I talk to people, it's like they started doing what they do because of necessity, like,
yeah, pretty much.
Basically,
yeah, it's basically necessity for me.
But what drew you to the bass?
It's in a tonal range that I like. It feels good to me. Like, I like the lower frequencies and stuff. And because I was born in 84, like the shred guitar stuff of 84 never really did anything for me. But like cool bass lines and melodic things that are more melody than they are demonstrations of physical skill are what I'm drawn to. Partially because I'm like way into alt rock, from the 90s, and that a lot of that music was different from the 80s guitar shred stuff, because it was more about melody and emotion and composition, and less about being able to play very quickly and very accurately and stuff like that. I think the first bass lines that I had to learn because of all my friends playing guitar was all the Nirvana bass lines, like a whole bunch of Chris Novoselic bass lines. And like, I'm not a tremendous, like, huge diehard Nirvana fan, mainly because there's only 3 albums. You can't really dig super hard into that back catalog, but that still has a good place in my heart, because he's doing really melodic bass stuff over basically rhythm guitar. You know, Kurt Cobain's basically playing rhythm guitar and singing. So the vocal melody and the bass melody often had a lot in common. So I was drawn to that naturally. And so the fact that my dad had a bass that I could bring to those practices was just like, all right. And I wasn't very, I mean, it took me a long time to get anywhere near capable of playing one of those songs, but it was just a blast, you know. So
right.
And I just didn't like how thin a guitar sounds. Even at its thickest, it's still an octave higher than the bass.
Bass is so powerful.
I just like that interplay between drums and, you know, the rhythm section, as they say, you know.
Yes, sir. Did your parents like push you in the direction of music ever, or did you just kind of get into it on your own?
They never really pushed me into it. Like there's videos of me too small to hold a guitar with a guitar in my lap, just banging on it, you know.
Parents are just like, perhaps?
It's like, yeah, are you interested? No? Yes? Partly it was because music had been sort of hanging around my house all the time that I kind of took it for granted. I kind of just assumed that that's just houses. You know?
Everyone's parents does.
Everybody's playing a little bit of music. My mom played classical guitar and acoustic guitar, and my dad played bass and guitar and sang a bunch and all that good stuff. So
it must have definitely had an impact in the sense that you are playing bass and stuff and everything, rather than like someone who's just like turned off by anything their parents do, like, you know.
Oh, well, I'm an only child, so I was never...
I feel you. Same.
Yeah, I was told, pretty much, my parents have always been extremely supportive and very outgoing and very, you know, into things, like whatever they're into, you know, which changes as the years go by, as people get older, but they're always extremely supportive. They come to as many shows as they can. Ever since the beginning, you know, they still come to as many shows as they can.
That's cool. You're not like, stand in the back, get out of here.
No. So I am emboldened by my parents being there. I'm more likely to go off and say something usually sexually disgusting or sexually hilarious if my parents are there, because it's kind of like getting away with it.
Yeah,
but my parents aren't. I can say whatever I want. My parents have never been like the kind to care what I say.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's good. No overbearing anything? So,
no, not in the least.
So that was like high school when you first picked up the bass?
Yeah, I think it was maybe freshman year of high school. And then just kept playing. And pretty much all my friends who started playing guitar back then have quit, except for Adam, who's in the current band. And he and I had a band in high school called Braille Illustrated. Which was like real Smashing Pumpkins influenced, you know, fuzz guitars and you know, melodic leads and melodic pop rock song structures and all that sort of stuff. And I remember specifically where I was when I first heard Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and that made a huge impression on me. I was like, oh, music can sound cool like this. Music can sound this good, you know. But prior to that, my only musical exposure was like things that my parents listened to, which is like everything 60s and 70s. So Elton John, Moody Blues, Neil Young, not so much Zeppelin, but some Zeppelin, the Beatles for sure, Rolling Stone, just all that stuff, you know, all that good stuff. But the first music that I got really exposed to that I felt like I could go buy a CD of was some Weird Al. Classic Weird Al stuff. So I know, like, let's see.
I got a buddy who's a big Weird Al fan.
Dude, Dare to Be Stupid was the first album I ever bought. And then Dare to Be Stupid, Off the Deep End, Bad Hair Day, of course. Ugh, so good. I remember when Bad Hair Day was a big deal in my junior high school.
Yeah. Weird Al is crazy.
He's one of those extremely talented, driven almost to a fault sort of people that, you know, very focused, very accomplished, doesn't have time for drugs or alcohol, has had the same band for 30 years. That's his same exact band. I mean, you probably already know, but... And,
like, very, like, culturally important, too, like, the impact he's had.
Has been here for long enough that every generation has their own favorite Weird Al song.
Yeah.
Did you... That Mandatory Fun album was his first album to hit Billboard #1 back in, what was that? 2013, 2014, 2015?
Oh, really?
Whenever that came out. with it had that. The album's, unfortunately, being a parody artist, his songs, majority of them, because he does originals too, but
his originals are crazy too.
His originals are great, even when they're in the style of, you know, whoever. But if the music that you're parodying isn't very great to begin with, or if, you know, like my generation, like I don't care very much about what's on the Billboard top whatever.
Right.
So when he comes out with an album, I don't really connect with it very well because I don't know any of those songs. All right.
Yeah.
But anyways, Weird Al was my first musical guy, and we saw him twice. We saw him at the Adler Theater twice, I think.
Wow.
Because he came through, you know, back in the 90s and stuff. It was so good.
Damn.
Really good stage show, like exceptionally good stage show with an attention to detail that, you know, is equal to the attention to detail he puts into his albums. So of course it's going to be really good, and it's going to have all kinds of fun, you know, homages to the original stuff. But
yeah, it's crazy how he's had like such a career, because I remember I was like watching like a Weird Al documentary or something. I remember him talking about how, I can't remember what record label he was signed on or whatever, but when he finally got the record deal, you know, he came out with the album, and then the record label was kind of like, you know, he wanted to keep making more albums, and they're kind of like, wait, time out, we did the Weird Al thing. Like it was like a,
oh, they were done?
like it's like a
one album wonder?
Yeah, like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
fad?
Yeah, something like that.
Or a,
yeah,
you know, thing of the minute sort of deal.
Basically, yeah. But and so that's pretty impressive how like the career he's had, you know, and the impact.
Well, and he's had the same manager for that many years, same band for that many years, and it's cool stuff. But that was my first musical like foray. So I got, you know, actually exposed to a fairly wide swath of American pop music, because that's what his albums were. They were just you know, 10 or 12 songs at a time of whatever was popular in America. So I kind of got exposed to a little bit of that. I heard let's see, I heard Marilyn Manson's Cake and Sodomy on a bus in 7th grade on our way to a Six Flags trip. I had never heard anything like that before. So it must have been 97 or 90, because it would have just come out. Antichrist Superstar would have just come out, so somebody had the previous album or something like that. And I was just like listening, you know, bopping my head a little bit. I'm listening. He's like, oh, he's talking about cake and... Huh. And he's the god of what now? All right. Well, thank you for that experience. And I handed it back to my friend, you know, and he's like, here, listen to this. And he gave me all of his, like, made me listen to Tool. I think Anima, was out at that time, 96, 97. And I was like, this is too progressive rock for me. At that, you know, when I'm like 11 or 12 years old or 13 years old, I was like, this is too progressive rock. I can't listen to this. But eventually, like, when I got into high school and I kind of like got into music more, I revisited all that stuff with fresh eyes and fresh ears and was really into it. I like all that stuff. But I just remember, do you remember the 311, the band 311? They had Transistor out whenever that came out, like 1998, 99 or something like that. 97, 98? I don't know. But the point was, my friend had the Transistor album, and it came with a bunch of Alien stickers and stuff. Cool stuff. And we're on a bus going somewhere, I think in like maybe 8th grade. It was maybe the year later. And he's like, dude, look at this. These guys think they're aliens. These guys are from like a different planet. These guys think they're aliens, because they had like alien stickers and all kinds of weird stuff. And I just remember thinking to myself, like that was the first time I remember thinking, my friend is not correct about this. That's not right.
They got him.
They effing got him. I don't believe that's true.
Have you done your research on this, or are you sure?
And I don't know if he was serious or not, but at the time he seemed particularly serious in the way you can be serious in junior high school or early high school. But it was just fun. I remember that. I just remember that thinking, it was like the first time I disagreed with a friend in a way that I was like, my opinion is different than yours.
But was he saying like they think they're aliens? Like, I know they're not aliens, but they think they're fucking aliens.
I don't know. I don't know whether he thought they were aliens, but he definitely was strongly supporting the idea that the band believed that the band was aliens.
Well, everyone wants to believe, man.
Everybody, hey man, I wanna believe,
but it's just hard sometimes.
Yeah, but that was just a funny moment in my musical career. It was pretty funny.
Now, do you mess around with any other instruments usually?
Yeah, I mean, the way that you kind of pick up all other instruments because you're in situations with those instruments and other people.
Right.
I was decent enough on the drum kit to play one set back in like 2012 or 13. I started a short-lived doom metal band with my friend Adam, who I'm still playing with now. He played guitar through basically 2 bass rigs, and I just played drums. And we just had some extremely powerful fuzz pedals, and just put him through 2 rigs. Through like straight up through bass rigs. Like, we're not even screwing around here. They were actual bass rigs. I think it was like his Fender Bassman head and my Sun Beta Bass head through like 610s and like a 412 and a 15 a piece, and we just put on. We played at like Theo's Java Club or something once or twice, and it was fun. You can still hear that stuff. It's on Bandcamp right now. It's on the splash page for genletteredrecords.bandcamp.com. If you go on there, you can like kind of listen to the history of all the projects I've been in, because I've just kept them going and put them up.
Nice. What was the name of that one?
Beards of the Dead.
Beards of the Dead. What was the name of the first one you were in? Like
Braille Illustrated.
That's right. Okay.
Yes. Only a slightly offensive band name, I guess. But yeah, we had fun, and this was like before the Quad Cities had any doom music going on. Like, it's kind of popped up in the last decade or so, but 15 years ago there was very little doom influence going on around here that I was aware of.
Who came up with the names for your bands?
I don't remember who came up with Braille Illustrated. If I had to guess, I'd say Adam. And Beards of the Dead, I think, is a 50-50 Adam Devin creation, if not an Adam creation. He's a very creative guy, and he and I both got like degrees in, English major degrees. So like,
okay, yeah.
we roll words around in our mouth until they feel the right way, and then we, if it feels the right way and sounds the right way and means the right layer of things, that's usually the band name that sticks.
But what does it mean?
Well, what does it mean?
You tell me.
Well,
up for interpretation?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really mean a damn thing other than Beards of the Dead combines my love of...
That could be a great movie.
It could. There's a movie called Tombs of the Blind Dead. There's a movie called Dawn of the Dead. So it's my horror movie influence and Adam's sort of stoner rock, alt rock, sort of indie rock influence kind of coming together there, which is what we've done with it's just what we've done with the current band too. It's the same exact marrying of things, except there's just more people involved.
Giallows, the correct Italian pronunciation.
Giallows. Soft G.
And gotta use the hand too, I forgot.
Vagina. Soft giallos. Oh no, wait. Vagina. I don't know.
Vagina.
I was trying to think of a word that was soft that had a G in it, and that's a word that I think of as being soft and G. But that's inspired by the Italian murder mystery film genre, giallo. Giallo. That's it, giallo. And it means yellow. Because the murder mystery films were adapted from murder mystery books, and the books that were murder mysteries, they're kind of like, inexpensive pulp novels that you'd get like in an airport or something, all often had like a yellow cover with, a woman running, or a woman like on the ground, like looking up at her attacker or something like that, but it would be yellow with red and white. And those were the murder mysteries. And apparently they had other genres that were like green colors that meant like, war books. And I'm just making that up, but I forget what the other colors stood for. But so the color of the book became the genre of the film, and then we put a W at the end because there's already a band called Giallows without a W, and there's already a band called Gallows. So we just put a W in it. It's not a real word. It's okay. Whatever.
Well, it's your own now, and that's good.
The Bandcamp page was available, giallows.bandcamp.com, so we went with it.
You gotta have something unique so it can pop up in that search history. And
that's
shit,
right.
So
we're the only thing that comes up if you Google it. So
right, that's the important thing.
And that's the important part.
Now, why choose that name? Just because are you a fan of those movies?
I'm a fan. It's funny. I'm more of a fan of the Italian horror movies, which don't really have a genre name like that. Less a fan of the murder mysteries, although there's plenty of murder mystery Italian director movies that I'm into. but it's really the soundtracks and the scores for those movies, just written by these amazing musicians in Italy that are just, they're literally just composers for hire. You know, that's their day job. That is the job that they do. They write music for films. And the Italian film industry was so prevalent and awesome in the 70s and 80s and stuff. They always had a lot to do. And there's just a really high amount of good music that came out of that decade, or those couple decades from that country. So I wanted to do a name that paid homage to the country and to the scores and stuff of the giallo and horror movies and stuff. So we ended up settling on that, even though it is like sort of, you know, a step to the side from what it is we're actually trying to emulate, which is the horror scores, which is like the guy, Fabio Frizzi, who was here at Ribco at the what was that, November 18th or November 11th or something. That was a big deal for me because he's done a lot of really good scores for a lot of Italian horror movies. It's like just awesome.
Is the band trying to do a score for a movie like that? That'd be pretty crazy.
We've thought about it. We definitely would. We know that there's some who is it? Archerus and some related projects have been playing at the Figgy, doing like live scores and stuff. So we've been inspired by that a little bit. We figure we could, given enough time, we could put it together and make it happen. But as it is, we kind of just write music that has a little bit of a soundtrack feel to it. You can really hear it in a couple of the really early songs. We made it really, really obvious on purpose. But we're kind of getting back to that now because it's, you know, the winter. Everybody's writing in the winter because it's like you don't want to go anywhere. Although this week has been pretty nice.
We've been lucky. It's been great. Now I think it's over.
Yeah, it's like 10 degrees colder every time I go outside today. So whatever.
We had a good run. Now, who's in the band? It's you on bass and Adam on guitar?
Adam on guitar. Ryan Collins is on drums right now. He's our third drummer. We keep going through drummers. And
Goddamn drummers.
And Andrew Klein, obviously, is on keys. And we're trying to make the band as flexible as possible, or I am. I don't know. The other guys don't care. But my idea for the band would be if you offer the band a gig and only one person's available, the band still says yes. Because that one person goes and does their best as, you know, different arrangements of the songs and stuff. That's why we did some October shows that were just me and Andrew. Just me on singing and vocal effects and him on his, you know, 2 or 3 keyboards, rearranging the songs to be flexible. And so the gigs that we played in November and December were 3-piece gigs, myself, Adam on guitar, and Ryan on drums. And we did play one gig at the Village Theater over the summer that was Andrew on keys, a previous drummer Justin on drums, and myself on bass. No guitar at all. And it's basically because I believe that a song is the chords and the vocal melody, and, you know, and the arrangement, of course. But if you know, you can translate those 3 things through any other arrangement of instruments, they're still interesting. They're still the songs. So I hope someday that the band will do a gig without myself, so that they could just be like, yeah, so-and-so, I can't do it, but you guys can. All right, see ya. You know,
that ended up being your proudest gig, the one you weren't there for. You guys did it.
You guys are so good.
That's my band up there. That's my band.
You guys sound great.
Get off the stage. Just heckle them.
Where's your bass player, suckers?
Now, what if you had to play by yourself?
My previous band was just 2-piece band. It was myself on bass and my friend Al on drums, who was in Braille Illustrated with me and Adam. He was a drummer in that band. And so I would be okay with doing it solo. Like, it would be weird. It would sound very strange, but I'd be into it.
It's interesting. That's like a good way to make people come see your shows, because like it can always be different.
It can always be different. That's our hope, you know. And I think if you've got friends and family that have seen you do it for long enough, and you change it up drastically, it gives your your longest term fans something new to come check out. And I think that's worth it. That's a little bit of a payback. Like, hey, thank you for supporting me. Here's more stuff. Here's more content. Here's something.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, did you hear that?
Ooh, that was a good one. Hopefully we got that on audio.
Yeah, I hope so. Poppins.
Hell yes. Man, That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone else really that does it that drastically to where, at least the goal being that drastic to where anyone can just play, whether who's available. But
it's just something that because I was really comfortable. I was in the 2-piece band for 10 years. So I was really comfortable operating mostly without a safety net. And when there's that few people on stage, you have to incorporate the audience. The audience is not just watching you and one guy just do your thing and then boom off the stage. You have to pull in the audience and make them part of it, which is boring talk for people who are just in the audience, but probably more interesting talk for people who are in bands. You know what I mean? Depending on what your demographic is. But that's why I was like, yeah, we should be able to do this any which way. Because I know how to use effects pedals on my bass. Adam knows how to use effects pedals on his guitar. We use effects on the keys, for goodness sake, and on the vocals. It should be flexible in that way. So whatever.
Definitely. How long have you guys been playing now?
Our first gig was June 1st, 2 Junes ago, or June 2nd. And it was that Life is Beautiful Fest in downtown Moline. It was at the Beer Stube.
Okay,
Did you hear about that event?
Yeah, I think my buddy just played the one this year, I think.
Yeah, we should have played the one this year, but at the time, we hadn't yet figured out how we would play as a 3-piece without Adam or something. So we skipped it because he had to work. But the first we initially did it because do you know why that whole Life is Beautiful Fest was started?
I don't know. I might have heard, but I can't remember. But I don't know.
It was a local guy named William Martin, Bill Martin, who's a little older than me. I think he was about 37 or 38 or something like that. Not at the time. At the time, he was my age. I guess he was like 35. But he'd struggled with mental illness and depression and things like that. And I had played a bunch of shows with him, not like directly with him in my band, but he would put together shows. We'd play with his projects and vice versa, and do a lot of stuff back in like 2008, 9, 10, all that. And he finally lost his battle with mental illness and took his own life, I think like the fall before 2 Junes ago. So like 2017, like late 2017 or early 2018. And so a friend that we had in common was like, hey, I'm going to do this benefit for National Association for Mental Illness or something like that, NAMI, and one other. I think there's one other in there. Anyway, he said, "Would you be interested in putting something together?" And my band broke up in 2015, so 3 years later, I was like, maybe 8 months away from that gig, from the June 1st gig, that Life is Beautiful gig, and I had literally no band at all, nothing, and I was like, "Yep, I'll play it." Because I work really well with a deadline, like most people do. So I had a deadline, grabbed a bunch of people. You want to do it? Yep. Put it together, played a whole set on the first, and have just been sort of off and running since then, which worked out really good.
That's great.
So, something creative came out of my friend's sacrifice, which is hopefully good.
Yeah. Life goes on, leads to new things. How far are you guys going to go with this band, you think? Going to go
as far as it'll take us, and then it'll eventually fall apart and we'll do something else.
Do you have any like goals, like you want to score some movies and shit, like, or anything?
Yeah,
crazy?
I'd love to score some movies. Right now the project that we're working on is I'm mixing and mastering. Mixing and mastering. An 8-song album. I think it's gonna be about 8 songs, or like 7.5 songs. The Doom intro for Leather Baby is pretty short. It's only about 90 seconds. But we did a musical internship. We did a musicians in residence, I should say, at Factory of Fear. Just this last, what would that be? June 28th and 29th. Like the hottest time that it could have been there, except for August. Loaded in all of our gear, set up in the haunted house during their summer infected zombie infected thing, and recorded more than 8 hours worth of music. So we would do original Giallows set from 9 to 10, jam from 10 to 11, or no, 8 to 9, whatever, an hour at a time. So original set, jam set, original set, jam set, 2 nights in a row.
Wow.
And we ended up with just just a ton of stuff. So I'm mixing and mastering that now, and hopefully we'll put it out on vinyl just to be a cool, weird experiment. You know what I mean? And we're not above replacing vocals and replacing guitars and overdubbing keys, especially since Friday night we had the full band. Saturday night we didn't have a keyboard player. So some of the tracks go from a Friday night performance. The next section is a Saturday night performance of the next section of the song. So we've done some guitar overdubs, some keyboard overdubs. Haven't done any bass overdubs yet. Definitely overdubbed the vocals. So it's kind of like this tornado of sound, like this tornado of this live chaos. And it kind of, starts like the tide at a distance, and as it gets closer, it turns into just, you get a little bit more detail as like things come into focus, and then it kind of knocks you over and kind of goes away. And then the songs are like these waves of chaos, kind of coming out of the mist and then receding back into the mist and kind of coming and going. And
we're gonna call it waves.
We're gonna call it Waves. Factory of Fear.
Waves, man.
Waves. But it's working out really good. It sounds pretty fun. It's kind of messy and noisy, and I can't fix it. I'm learning a lot about my OCD, my quest for perfection with this project. So that's what we're doing right now. But we want to come out of the gate swinging in 2020 with something new, not just for the band, but not just for ourselves, but also for the audience. Whether that's a totally new set, like totally different songs, like don't even play those old songs at all. Which is the kind of thing that I'm into.
Yeah. Well, just give yourself a deadline, and then
just give us a deadline, right? I'm gonna try to do something in February. February is like album writing month. Write an EP of songs, blah blah blah. But this is a leap year, so you got that extra day.
Ooh.
You get that 29th day. So.
That really helps. That's awesome.
That's what we got on the table right now.
Hell yeah! Looking forward to that shit.
Hopefully it'll be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do some sort of crazy vinyl color that makes it sound like shit.
I saw they have a vinyl now made with recycled ocean plastic.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd do that. Does it look cool?
Yeah, it looks like shit. Like there's a bunch of garbage in it or something.
Yeah,
yeah. I think that'd be cool.
Like the outline of a plastic bottle.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. They just cut it in little strips. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And I guess that's good. You can be environmentally friendly.
Yeah. The problem is that all the plastic in the ocean is like so small that we can't, like it's all ground up like micro pieces, and little creatures are just full of plastic, and then bigger creatures eat hundreds of those little, thousands of those little creatures, and then they're really full of plastic.
And yeah, not to mention the plastic alone that they eat. Like, I don't really eat seafood much anymore, man.
I still do, but it's not from the ocean.
Yeah. They're trying to clean it up, that fucking garbage patch.
They need to.
There's this guy, a young dude, like...
The tube thing?
Like probably.
It's like it floats and
it's
drags.
the Ocean Cleanup Project. I know that's the name of the thing. I think that's his thing. Boyan Slot or something. He's like...
They're making it work.
Some foreign dude. They finally got it working as of just like within the month, I think I heard about it. And they found out that this was like an accident. I think I'm saying this right, unless I heard wrong, but their contraption, whatever, that's collecting the plastic, they found out that somehow the way the waves break up against it, and the circulation of how it collects whatever, it actually does bring in some of the microplastics or something.
Oh.
They found out that
because of the way the water moves against it.
Something like that. Yeah, there was some area in the collection area that was actually like there was full of like a bunch of microplastics or something.
Thank God. You gotta, man.
Yeah, Christ. Idiot humans.
It's all falling apart, and this planet would be better off without us.
Yeah.
And that's not even an opinion. That's just an objective fact. Everything was going fine until we showed up. The equivalent of like...
Yeah. Have you heard
5,000 years ago.
Have you heard that old George Carlin bit where he's saying like, maybe that's our purpose, that we're here to create plastic. Maybe the Earth wanted plastic, didn't know how to make it, so he made humans, and then now they're just phasing us out just to keep the plastic.
We don't need you. We have all the plastic that we needed.
Styrofoam and shit. Like, this is what I wanted. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see, one way or the other.
Maybe we won't see. We'll be dead.
Somebody won't see.
Now, you also were a bit of an actor. Is that right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Only the 4 things that you know about, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else did we even? Not only like those 3. Only the 4 movies that you know about, really. But I mean, I guess I feel like anybody who's a performer or a musician, or especially with 10 years of just me and one other guy on stage versus a whole audience, you get a certain bag of tricks, or a certain stage confidence that translates a little bit to screen, where you can at least, say lines at a C- level of believability, and not be the reason that a whole project tanks, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, was there anything in particular that got you into acting, or?
Josh Kahn. Let's see. No, who was it? No, it was my friend Andrew Edmark, who actually shot that Favorite Refrain movie. He was the one who was like, "Hey, this new director locally here is trying to do a project, and would you like to help out?" I think it was initially, "Do you want to help out for a day doing something?" I was like, "Sure." And then I met him, and then he was like, "Hey, I haven't cast this yet. Would you be interested in this role?" And I was like, "Sure." Just because I wasn't doing music stuff particularly much at the time. It was like 2014, I think. We'd just gotten done with a tour or something like that.
Ooh.
Like a 3-date tour, not a tour. But I took 4 days off of work, so it counted.
That counts.
And it counts. And so I just said yes, and that was my first experience with it. And then on the second film, my wife got cast as the other lead opposite me as my romantic interest in that romantic comedy. And that one probably came out, I think everybody who's done all 4 of these movies would say that one probably came out the best, because it had the least involved or the least twisty plot, but it had fun things happening, under the A plot, which is, the guy's getting his life back together. There's fun side things going on and all that stuff. So it turned out good.
Was that easy or fun working alongside your wife?
It was fun. My wife is really outgoing like I am, and she's probably more interested in acting than I am even. And she had a real good time, and she takes things like that really seriously, and she does her homework and shows up with her A game. And because we're filming mostly in my house, she and I could run lines a lot before anybody even showed up. So nobody's time really got wasted, waiting for us to like, "Oh, what are we doing in the scene? Oh, we got to do this." It was just a lot of, we're basically ready to go with the words. Let's just block it out and let's just do all this other stuff. And then, do a couple takes and boom, done. It was pretty effortless. Roll out of bed, walk down, go downstairs in the living room. 10 minutes later, everybody shows up.
Right.
Hit and record. Go for it, man.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
That sounds nice. Like,
it was relaxing.
In between scenes, I'll be in my trailer. Really, it's just my bedroom, but my trailer.
Mm-hmm. I'll be taking a nap. It was good, though. We had a good time.
Hell yeah. Again, that's like something that happened out of necessity. Like, I got to roll. Do it. That's pretty cool. I feel like you would have been drawn to movies just because you're like a movie buff yourself, it seems like.
Yeah.
You seem like you've seen all the movies.
All of the movies?
No. Dude, there's so many.
No,
I've heard all the bands, seen all the movies.
Yeah, right.
Seen all the art.
I've watched, for me, film started with Dawn of the Dead, the George Romero zombie series and all that good stuff, all those good movies, and then I sort of branched out from there. The first movie that had a big impact on me was The Crow. Oh, it's so gothy. Oh, I'm so sad for Brandon Lee. I mean, it's sad what happened to him, but it was such a high school thing to get into. Used to dress up as the Crow and just go to high school. Not with face paint, but black jeans, black shirt, unlaced boots, and my backpack full of books. I'm the Crow, whatevs, But
you've heard of me.
You've heard of me, I'm sure. But that was that was like the first movie that I got really deep into and had an emotional connection to. But there's nowhere you can really go with that. There's no genre of films around that kind of film. There's revenge movies, I guess, but not like that. But if you get into something like Dawn of the Dead, which was sort of the next thing that I jumped into, there's a whole horror movie community around that.
Oh, yeah.
So Dawn of the Dead's a gateway movie, and you end up seeing all kinds of other wacky shit, you know.
Right.
But it worked out really good for me. I've seen a lot of Italian horror at this point, just a ton.
Well, you got to do your research now. You got a whole band around it.
And my wife and I do that Wake the Dead horror trivia every month.
Okay.
It's on the third Thursday of every month at Wake Brewing in Rock Island, Illinois.
So be there.
So be there. We write all the questions. We figured it out. We've written over 480 questions.
Wow.
Jesus. 20 at a time, man.
Trivia. Are your questions like a lot of like behind the scenes shit that like you really have to dig deep to know about, or is it kind of related to
everything under the sun? The
movie?
more popular and well known the movie is, the more dig deep you have to get with the questions. The less well known it is, the more kind of surface level, like the title or something that an actor did. But we do anthology Aprils, where we give them 4 anthology movies to watch. You know, horror anthologies. And we did, and October is always a special year, you know, so we'll either pick 4 movies that are not anthologies, just 4 really good spooky Halloween movies. This year we did Atkins October. Tom Atkins is an actor who's been in a lot of movies, and he was in at least 4 really cool horror movies, so we put those on there. But the rest of the months are like whatever theme we decide we want to do, you know. For December this year, it was all Christmas horror. I thought it was only last Thursday. It was like a week ago tonight. It was all Christmas horror movie questions.
Ooh.
And there's a lot of Christmas horror movies, man.
Interesting. Do you give a shout out in advance, like, hey, this is the movie we're going to be doing, so they can watch it? Or?
Yeah, if it's a specific 4 movies or a specific whatever, then we say, here are the movies we're watching. And all of our questions will be only these movies. Or here are the anthologies we're watching, and you know, usually because anthologies have like multiple stories per movie, it'll be like 1 question per story. So you know, 20 questions total, whatever. But that's a lot of fun. We've been doing the trivia thing now for almost 2 years. I think we started in March of 17.
Has it always been at Wake? Yeah, because they just had like their 2-year anniversary, right? Like
they're the only place that has consistent horror movie. Well, it's not just movies, but horror trivia in general. We do music. We do you know, both score and spooky music from history, spooky paintings and art and books, and you know, we try to get everywhere with it. It's not only movies, but it's 90% movies, I would say. But that's the other thing that my wife and I have going on that we do that's a lot of fun.
Nice. I don't think I'm educated enough about any movie to know any trivia.
You might be surprised. A lot of people show up and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know anything about horror, but because of the way that we write the questions, they end up getting, you know, they might come in last place, but they still got 50 points out of a possible, you know, like 125 or something like that. But it's a lot of fun.
I'm more of like a nerd for like cartoons and shit.
I know there's another
juvenile.
trivia in the Quad Cities that does some stuff. I think Bent River, does horror trivia or something like that.
Nice.
But theirs is you know, a sort of a potpourri of stuff, not just horror, as far as I know. But.
Hell yeah. That's pretty dope. Now, how do you do you have any goals as far as acting side of things?
No,
anything you ever want to get into? No.
I'm doing projects ongoing with Josh Kahn. I totally spaced it. I've only been in 4 movies in theory, but I did that web series with Josh Kahn called Against the Odds.
Against the Odds. I know I've heard that.
It's a bunch of like mythical fantasy creatures, but they're in modern day, and like my character owns the bar that's called Odds. Okay. And it's like a adventure love story of all these characters. Like one guy's a Sasquatch, one guy's, you know, like he can teleport. One guy is, you know, whatever. Just fantasy stuff. There's like a witch and like a mer person, like an underwater mer person, and things like that. And that ended up going, I think, 7 episodes. But it's sort of an ongoing deal even now, even though we finished it like 2 years ago, because we're, you know, re-editing and tightening things up and getting rid of stories that never went anywhere because, you know, maybe that actor wasn't available again or whatever. But that'll be coming back out here. Hopefully this in 2020 we'll have like a good edit that's a little bit tighter and a little bit more polished up. But it was just on YouTube. You can check it out. It's Against the Odds. It's just all it's called.
Cool. Hell yeah. Now, what is, tell us a little bit about Gentle Edward, was it Productions or?
Records? Gentle Edward Records was what I started in probably 2005 for the two-piece band that played for 10 years. And they're called the Postmortems. Mm-hmm. And we jammed all over Davenport, or all over the Quad Cities and all over the Midwest, and we got as far east as Indianapolis, Indiana on our tour, and we got as far west as
Davenport, Iowa.
No, I think whatever's straight south of Iowa City, like Keokuk, Ottumwa. I don't know. One of those is moderately far away, so that's as far west as we got. But we put out one album and an EP or two, and had a real good time. But I started Gentle Edward Records to kind of just put that stuff out. But I already had a whole bunch of crap that I had just done in high school and in college that was like just me on my computer, whatever, and the Braille Illustrated stuff. We ended up putting out an actual recorded album in 2010. Adam and I got together. Me and Al got together, the drummer, before Adam was even in town, and re-recorded like 10 or 12 songs. And then Adam came in, and for the 2 weeks before Christmas, we recorded all the rest of the stuff and mixed it all up, and all kinds of fun shit like that. But Gentle Edward Records ended up also having Waking Robots. They're a local band that stopped playing a little bit ago. They're on a hiatus right now. We had Satellite Heart, which is so good. They're so good. Waking Robots and Satellite Heart are both really good, but Satellite Heart... my personal slogan for Satellite Heart, not their slogan, was more hooks than a bait shop, because their songs just had great melodies all the time, you know. And there's some other bands, I think. The Last Glimpse was on there, or is on there, I should say. They're not playing, but they're just writing and stuff right now. My dad's band that he did in the 80s and 70s with his friend Tom Cook, called Cat's Eye, is on Gentle Edward Records, because I have all the recordings, you know, so I just put them up. All my projects with Adam, Beards of the Dead, the Postmortems are on there. And the most recent addition is Zool from Iowa City.
Zool.
We are super happy.
How
to
is that
have
spelled?
Them on. Zuul.
Okay.
And I think their Bandcamp is like iowacitizool.bandcamp.com. And on Facebook, there's a band in Chicago also called Zool, so they have to put all their stuff as like The Real Zool or like Zool IC or something like that.
Right.
But they just got done recording in a giant warehouse, like a giant outdoor warehouse that had, I think, like logs or lumber or something like that in it. But like, think of the biggest warehouse you can think of. That was how big it was. And then they recorded... I'm super excited. I'm going to nerd out for just a second. Indulge me.
Do it.
They recorded individual instruments at a time.
Okay.
However, because of how much space they had, they added a pair of stereo mics 20 feet away from each source out in the middle of this huge warehouse. So they got a drum kit mic'd up like you would mic a drum kit, plus 2 giant room microphones way out there. And then they would leave the room microphones there and replace that drum kit with the bass rig and record all the basses like that. And then they did it with the vocals and they did it with the guitars. So they have literally, for the whole session, they have literally like 100 tracks that they have to sift through. Like the guitar had this, like the guitars, for example, might have had 2 microphones on the cabs, or a microphone on this amp and a microphone on this amp, but also the 2 stereo mics. And then the drum kit was like 19 microphones just for the drum kit because of all these giant stereo mics and stuff. But the overall effect is stunning.
Wow.
It sounds enormous. But because it's all in the same room, but because they have control over it, you can have a guitar that sounds like it's absolutely in your face for one part of the song with drums with huge room around it, and then, you know, they hit another part of the song and all of a sudden there's those room mics on the guitar and the guitar joins the drums and it gets like, you know, it's probably like a 200 or 150 foot deep warehouse.
Damn.
And they experimented with microphones even further away, and they said it got to the point where you just couldn't tell, it was not even a sound anymore.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a You know, like, because it's so far away, it's all reflections. But they found like 25 or 20 feet or so was kind of where they had a usable room sound.
Yeah.
But you still, because it's so far away, you still hear them like hit the snare, and the snare goes, you know, it's like this permanent reverb on everything.
Man, yeah.
And it's even in the close mics just a little. So even the tight close mics still have just a little bit of something extra. You can tell they were not fucking recorded, pardon my language, like in a basement or, you know, in a studio. They were recorded in this crazy space. So I'm just, as you can tell, I'm really excited about that. We just put out.
That's pretty crazy.
We didn't put it out. General Edward Records didn't put it out itself because we hadn't yet really connected with those guys in that way. But we do have a credit on the back of Zool's most recent album, Volume 2. So we put them for sale like at Ragged Records in Rock Island. And this new one's gonna be so good, man. It's gonna be cool. And Zool used to be the Savage Hacks. Did you ever hear about them from Iowa City?
I don't think so, no.
A real like punk, grunge punk, like just a real grungy, grimy, powerful punk sound feel. Not like punk music like we think of it like da 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 da, but they would sometimes have that punk drum beat, that but they had like fuzzy guitars and like thick weird 5-string bass and all this weird stuff. So that band added another guy and got rid of somebody else and added somebody else, and so now they're Zool. So that's how I still know them, and they're just bringing it.
That's crazy.
They've put out at least 2 vinyls, at least, I think.
Man, it's like isn't that like how they had to do reverb back in the day?
Yeah, with actual physical
rooms,
space between the thing, and you know, we can tell. Our ears can tell. We've been hearing real reverb literally our entire lives as human beings, so you can tell when it's real and when it's just really close to being real. You know what I mean? Mm-mm. And I'm not a purist. I don't care where the reverb comes from, but when you hear that on their recordings, you can tell that there's really a huge distance and all these completely organic reflections that can't be faked because there's no amount of math that can do every single, you know, thing. It's just exciting. It just sounds cool, and it sounds organic and like even just a little gritty and a little bit dirty. And they froze their asses off while they did it. It was like it was November when it was freezing, like totally crazy cold.
Man.
Yeah, they were in the warehouse because they only had 3 weeks or 4 weeks to do it because they worked there, and they're like, "Hey, can we have the warehouse before you guys shut down for the winter?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Or whatever the case was. I don't know if they're shutting down or selling it or what, but I'm excited for that. General Edward Records is excited for Zool probably Volume 3 is at least what they'll call it. It will be at least Volume 3.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
I feel like you want to buy a big warehouse now.
You know,
big ass room.
An experiment that Braille Illustrated did back in like 2004 or 2003 or something, maybe 2000, whatever, when we were in high school and college, was we took my friend's 412 and his guitar amp into the stairway at the River Center like 6-story parking garage and plugged it in and like played his guitar in this giant stairway like really late at night when there's nobody down there. And that was like our first foray into like, can we record on location? Can we do it?
Yeah.
Let's do it. And ever since then I've been buying up interesting recording stuff. Not even so much like a basement full of gear, but like I have a set of microphones that are real full frequency. They're like, 20 to 20, and they're at the ends of their cables. They're real tiny. They're little tiny things, and they're on little curvy things like they used to have on headphones that would go over your ear, like over the edge of your ear. But instead of going into your ear and hearing stuff, they hang out just in front of your ear, like right here, and they're microphones, and you can record a stereo signal filtered by an actual human head. So then when I record it and I like put the headphones on you, and we're like in a for reasons I'll explain in a second, a haunted house, for example, it sounds like you're really there. And the directionality of things is very obvious. Like you really hear it when something's on your right or passes in front of you and goes on the left or whatever. And the way that General Edward Records, has incorporated that most recently is my wife's podcast, Dairy Public Radio. It's a Stephen King bi-weekly book club podcast. So every 2 weeks they put out an hour-long episode talking about, some section of a Stephen King book. They did like The Shining, or no, they haven't done The Shining. They did The Stand over the summer. And it took like 2.5 months to do The Stand because that book is this tall, it's like this thick. But anyway, we got an opportunity because of one of the conventions that we went to. I think it was Midwest Monster Fest, the one that happened in September. It was like the first of its kind in the Quad Cities and all that good stuff. We had a booth there, and I'm not on the podcast. I'm only on one episode. I'm on
and that's also with Josh Kahn?
That's Josh Kahn and my wife,
out.
CM Alexander, and their friend Benjamin Graham. They do all the main episodes, but we got an opportunity. We met somebody at that Midwest Monster Fest who was like, hey, we have a haunted house in Forest Grove, Illinois? Forest City, Illinois, I think is what it is, like 2 hours away from here. And we went down there and put those binaural, talked to them first, like said, hey, can we do this for the podcast? They're like, sure, come on down. So I got to bring my High 8 camera. I have an old Sony High 8 camera from 1998 that still works.
Shit.
And it's got night shot on it, so I can click it on and see in the dark. And we put those binaural, they're not truly binaural, but that's what I've been calling it, microphones on my wife's head, and she hit record. And because of modern technology, you can record forever. You can record for like 4 straight days on a memory card. Anyway, so we hit record and went through the haunted house.
Oh,
so if your listeners are interested in hearing haunted house binaural recordings, go over to Dairy Public Radio. They have the whole walkthrough for their Patreon subscribers, and it's spooky and cool.
Damn.
You can hear people like coming out of the darkness on one side or the other. You can hear clowns. Like, you can hear some of my favorite stuff is where it's quiet, but you hear what's going to happen. Because it's like, you hear the people ahead of you, or you hear like honking, or you hear, my favorite part was the Christmas horror section. I love Christmas horror, by the way. But the first thing that you run into in one of the haunted houses was like the Christmas lights and stuff. And there's like real messed up looking Santa Claus, and you can take pictures with him and stuff. It was fun. But you could hear his jingle bells like at a distance. It was cool.
That's pretty dope. That'd be nice for like around Halloween time. Just put it on, sit in the dark.
Yeah.
Give yourself a good scare.
Well, and I did, the very first one I did was at Factory of Fear. My friend Alex and I went to Factory of Fear with not the current microphones, but a different set. Basically lavalier mics I borrowed from Josh Kahn, and recorded that in Factory of Fear. And that's different because instead of being what is it? Blood Moon Manor is the place in Forest City that we went with Dairy Public. Factory of Fear is an inside place. Blood Moon Manor is mostly outside. So when you're inside, you hear the whole place alive all at once, and you hear all the shrieks that are like perpetually coming from everywhere in the haunted house, and you hear like people getting jump scared and people like honking horns and screaming animatronics and stuff. But we did a walkthrough of that's also on Downloaded Records. I did a podcast that was like 260 episodes called Devin's Drive Home.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, and they were usually like 20 minutes, but I would do like special editions just for the heck of it. And one of them was that Factory of Fear walkthrough, and it was so cool, man. The Factory of Fear guys are my favorite haunted house guys in the Quad Cities. They've been so kind. They're like, yeah, come on in and do whatever you want. We'll walk you through. We'll show you what we got. Oh, you can film a thing here if you need to later on. Your band can play and you can record the whole thing and
right.
Whatever. That was a lot of fun. They invited us to play, but I was like, yes, we would love to play, but may we also record? And he's like, yeah. I was like, it's a lot more shit. And he's like, we don't care. You do whatever you want. Do whatever. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
All right, Brett from Factory of Fear. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brett.
That's right.
Shout out to Brett. That's pretty cool, man. That's cool, like doing like weird experimental shit.
The experimentation is like my favorite thing about it, man. And
that's where like unexpected shit can happen and new things arise. So.
I wanted to start going to local shows with my binaural microphones on. And the thing is, if you're recording and you're the binaural head, because you are, if you've got them on, you can't really move. You have to really stay still. Because if someone's got them on and they're listening to the music and all of a sudden like the panning of the music goes, some people can get affected by that. Some people can get sick.
Bro, shit.
Yeah, like the sonicness of it. Like you sit in a chair and it feels like you're moving, but you're not moving. Like you're tricking your ears.
Yeah.
But I've thought about doing that because I can handle, those microphones can do magic, so I could just go to places and just record shows and put them up on Downloaded Records, just a little bit of an archive,
Yeah. That'd be pretty dope. What if you wore them when you were playing a show?
Haven't tried that yet. but I had thought about it.
Coming up next on
Next on Giallows' Facebook page, listen to the band playing from Devin's perspective. Or whatever. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
It has to be somewhere far away from the drums, otherwise all you hear is drums.
We'll get you an extra long input cord. You're going to be in the audience this time.
That's
actually,
right.
So that's pretty cool.
You could put it on the drummer's head, I guess, and if you were tracking drums, you could put it on the drummer's head and have him do his tracks. That would be fucking cool.
Do that.
That's going to happen. You just came up with that idea tangentially for me.
You heard it here first, folks.
I did. MOBCAST
awesome.
knows what's up.
We do. There's a lot of shit that happens here. Like
things happen.
Things happen on the MOBCAST. I mean, you guys know. Shit.
There's a camera.
I gotta tell you, hello.
Hi.
Is this still recording? Is anyone still watching?
Is it broadcasting live or just recording?
Just recording.
So you just throw it up on YouTube or wherever?
Yeah. The videos go on YouTube and our Facebook. So.
Okay. Would you be interested in interviewing Dairy Public Radio at some point?
Oh yeah, I already was talking to Josh. Yeah,
cool.
So yeah,
very cool.
Definitely.
That'd be awesome.
Most certainly. Do you have any like favorite gear that you stand by, or like favorite models or anything that you use?
My Giallows bass is like a complete parts bass.
Yeah.
Like I found the body at Music Go Round. I found the neck. Like I got the neck from like talkbass.com or something, and the most expensive part about it is just the pickups, because I got like a cool Thunderbird clone pickup in the bridge position, and a P-bass pickup by Bill Lawrence or something in the neck position. And I used to run 2 outs, one from each pickup for the postmortems 2-piece setup, so I'd have 2 amps with 2 parallel effects chains and all this good stuff.
Shit.
And that's what I play in Giallows right now, because jazz basses in general feel good to me, and they usually sit perfectly on me. I'm in an 80s synth cover band called Class of 82, and we do a lot of like cool, all family friendly stuff, doing Depeche Mode and Duran Duran and I don't know, I can't remember any of the other bands. But anyway, in that band, I play the original bass that I borrowed from my dad to start playing on, which is a Yamaha BB3000S, like white. And it must have an undercoat, like the primer on it must be like green or something. Because if you look at it, it's white, but it's also like pearlescent green. Like you can tell that underneath the white paint, there's something else going on. But so I'm playing that in the 80s band because it's an 80s bass, and
right.
it just makes me feel close to my dad, and it's sort of like a cool thing.
Well, now you sound like a purist. I need my 80s bass.
My dad's not dead, by the way. He's still alive. But it's just cool. It's like, my dad likes to see it on stage, and I like to play it as sort of a visual thank you to my dad. And I have a completely custom, designed by me, built by Adam's cousin, bass that I haven't been playing recently because I want to change it to be tuned BEAD. I want it to be like a 5-string except without the high G string. Okay. And I just haven't put the strings on it yet. But that one's a design that I did like on Google SketchUp or something, and his cousin was an instrument maker and just a kind guy. He moved to Phoenix. He's like in his 60s or something, but that's my go-to bass for changing it up. And it's got a weird look to it. It's got a real strange shape. It's like accidentally came out very close to looking like a metal bass, like from metal, but it's not at all, But amp-wise, excuse me, right now I'm using a power amp and a preamp. I'm using a PV Max preamp. It's got a half tube section, half... Jesus.
Don't die yet.
I'm going hoarse today. I talked a lot yesterday, and I think I'm getting sick, but whatever. The PV Max preamp that's half tube, half solid state, and you can blend it because Peter Steele from Typo Negative used it. I think I told you that already, but I don't use it because I want to sound like Typo Negative, which would be virtually impossible anyway because a lot of his stuff was custom. But in my rack is like a PV IPR 3000 power amp and this PV Max thing, and then like a little power conditioner, power strip, whatever, and then the preamp that we use for the keyboards as well. So my rack, it's like a 6-space rack, is the keyboard rig for Andrew in Giallows and also my bass rig in one thing. And he uses a cab that's like a 15-inch woofer with a 6-inch mid-range driver. It's real full frequency, like it goes up past 5K or something like that. So it's for synths, it's perfect. It gets as low and high as he wants to go. And
That's
then for
good.
cabs, for me, I'm just using like a single 15 or 215, whatever. The real crux of it. And Adam should be here for this talk, I guess, too. The real crux of all that stuff is like the effects that we like to use. Like my I've got a whole shelf at home of just effects pedals because, you buy a delay pedal and then you buy yourself a distortion pedal, and then all of a sudden you've got a whole you've got like all kinds of wacky stuff. So in Giallows, Adam and I both have his is really extravagant. He's got another one of the things that we wanted to do when we started Giallows was have the ability to kind of switch sounds on a dime, kind of go from like this sound, boom, one switch over to this sound. So he's got 2 separate effects loops, and one he'll set up for kind of like heavy distortion, and then the other he'll set up for like, delays and reverbs and whatever. So he can go from like Electric Wizard over to My Bloody Valentine with a single stop, you know what I mean? If he's got enough prep time in the song.
Yeah.
And I can do a similar thing. I've got a Hog pedal and that Digitech Freakout feedbacker pedal, and now we're getting into like seriously nerdy ASMR pedal talk. Oh, yeah. But that's the gear that we're sort of deep into. And he's got a Fender Bassman amp that he's had forever, and it sounds good, plays good. I've got a wide variety of bass cabs that I could use if I needed to, but so far I've just been using the 115 because it's loud enough for what we need to do. But
Right. Well, that's good.
Yeah, we're not beholden to any gig or any gear in particular, which is sort of the opposite of a lot of musicians.
Do you mainly stick to 4 strings?
Mm-hmm. I've played 5-string a little bit, and I thought about it for Class of '82, but that low B string throws you off. I could do it. I just have to really focus on it and practice on it for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I don't mind it. But I like the feel of 4 strings.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not even using those 4 strings to the best of their abilities. I haven't graduated to 5 strings yet. I haven't even exhausted 4 strings, which I know is a silly argument, but that's my joke answer is I haven't even I can't even handle 4 strings. Why would I put a 5th one on there?
Right. Yeah, it seems like there's a real science to what you guys are doing. You got to get it all dialed in there. And shit.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of alchemical restriction that we place on ourselves. Certain rules and regulations that we operate by, so that we are not paralyzed by options. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I work psychologically. My brain works much better if I know that I can't go past A, B, or C. Mm-hmm. Like whatever the options are, then I'm really creative, or I'm creative in a way that pleases me internally if I'm working within certain boundaries. You break the boundaries if you absolutely have to, but having a place to start is more important than just knowing for the sake of knowing that you've got all the options in the world. Mm-hmm. So if I know that I'm it just gets me going, and then I can go from there. And we try to write that way. We try to perform that way.
Hell yeah.
It's always a challenge, and I really enjoy it all the time.
Yes, sir. Any upcoming gigs?
We were supposed to play in January. I don't know when. I don't know where. Might be at the Beer Stube.
Somewhere.
Might be the January 16th or something. It's with the noise crowd, the guys who like the noise, it's more like sonic experimentation, than it is pop song, whatever. I think it's somebody related with or to Blue Movies is putting on a show there in Beer Stube at the Black Hawk Room. I don't know. I don't remember when it's happening. Don't spoil it for me. I'm not real sure what day it is because I've been on vacation for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm
not gonna ruin it for you.
Don't even tell me what day it is, but I've been cut free from all responsibility psychologically, so I'm feeling good.
That's great.
Christmas was great. The weather was great. Went to my wife's dad's family's place. Had a bonfire in their front yard. It was 60 degrees, guys.
I'm not happy with all these people like, I want a white Christmas.
You've had plenty of white Christmases.
You know what? You can move north.
I want less than a molten lava summer. How's that? I want something that's not 1 trillion degrees outside.
I mean, you know, look at me. I'm not built for this weather.
You're built for summer weather. You're comfortable in the summer.
I love the desert.
I like to be dry.
Nice and dry.
Sandy. But no gigs coming up, sorry.
No gigs, sorry. Just keep an eye out.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook, Giallows, or facebook.com/Giallows, or downloadedrecords.bandcamp.com. All that good stuff. We put up events and stuff. I'd get off Facebook if I didn't have a band account, or if I had enough self-control to not use my personal account while I was doing my band stuff too.
Yeah, I feel most artists would agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
I guess I should just start a website, and then you can do all that stuff on Bandcamp, I think. But anyway, that's nerd talk. That's neither here nor there.
Well, it's all nerds watching this shit.
Well, better be all nerds watching.
Yeah,
damn
I
it.
hope so. I'm sorry, I can't remember if you said, have you ever released anything on vinyl yourself?
No. My
Is that
hope,
coming?
Yes, my hope is to release the Factory of Fear, the Giallows live at Factory of Fear on vinyl. And the other half of that is we have 4 recorded sets of Giallows music, because we just did the same set in varying orders. You know, we'd start at the beginning, or we'd start at the end, or we'd start in the middle, or we'd do this or that. But then we have those 4 sets that were in between that are just jamming, that are just weird sounds and like people swapping instruments. So what I'd like to do is a vinyl for Giallows live at Factory of Fear, or live from Factory of Fear. I don't know, whatever we call it. It'd be pretty cool regardless. And then maybe a digital only release, or a CD release only of the jams. You know, go through and find stuff that sounds cool and fun, and just chop it together and arrange it up. And
yeah, like a separate EP off of that or something. Yeah.
I think that would be fun. Like, did we do anything particularly crazy on those jams? I literally can't remember, because it was 2 excruciatingly hot nights in a row. It cooled off about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, but man, you get there at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock for zombie makeup or whatever. They made us do it in makeup.
Oh, God.
Which was fun. I mean, not crazy, but it was not crazy makeup, but fun makeup.
Yeah.
And the place was just hot.
Ah, man.
But it was worth it. It came out really
yeah.
good.
That sounds great. Do you have any plans for, I don't know, dabbling in some future podcasts or anything like that?
Well, you know, I got this Facebook page that I've been squatting on for like 2 years called the QC Facebook Coalition, or QC Podcast Coalition. And every once in a while, Facebook's like, hey, you haven't been to QC Podcast Coalition a little bit. If you fucking don't get on that site, we're going to shut it down, you piece of shit. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, guys, just fucking relax.
Yeah, dude, I think sometimes Facebook's like bullshit, and they're on some bad intel or something, because I'll like post something pretty fucking recently, and then they'll be like, you haven't shared anything for a while. It's like, dude, I just did. What do you like 2 days ago?
You haven't gotten that sweet shot of dopamine from sharing with people who you don't actually know. Come on, sucker, don't you want to get in on it?
Dude, just post a selfie. Just do it. Just do something.
Just whip your dick out and post it. Just post your dick on your podcast.
Everybody does it.
Everybody's posting your dick, dude. Why aren't you posting your dick? No, I think I would like to get the Podcast Coalition page going. We put you guys on there. We'll put Dairy Public on there.
That'd be cool.
All the
like
cool,
an archive thing or something?
I don't know. It would just be a place where people could maybe post their new episodes as they come out. I just think that would be fun. And I did like I said, I did like 200 episodes of a podcast. It's on Bandcamp. It's called Devin's Drive Home on Bandcamp.
Nice.
I talk about things like albums that were influential, movies that were influential. My first episode ever that I ever did is called Stabbing Westward is for Guys Who Got Dumped. And there's a whole story behind that. Your listeners can go listen to that if they want to. But yeah, I'd like to get back on the QC Podcast Coalition thing. Maybe put a background banner image up that's not just my basement. Just like an empty picture of my basement. Like, you can see like a drum kit over here and like a bunch of crap pedals over here and stuff.
This is where all the podcasts would go if I had them.
This is where they would be if they existed. But when I started that, there weren't very many QC podcasts, and now there's
it's
a lot
popping
more.
up. It's really popping up, yeah.
So maybe now's the time to seize that day and get all those podcasts on there.
I think you should do it. They think you should do it too.
Fucking tell me what to do.
It's just a suggestion.
You don't tell me what to do.
Just a kind suggestion, sir.
All right, I'll consider it. I'll do it.
He'll consider. You guys got him a little bit. But.
I was looking at your collection of Nintendo and Sega Genesis and SNES games there.
Yeah.
That's a good collection.
Got a little something there.
Something.
Some oldies. You know?
What else do you want to talk about, man? Let's talk about you. No, I don't know.
You can interview me if you want.
I'm sure you've been interviewed on your own show several times, conversational.
Maybe just a little bit, but usually I'm pretty good. Just be like, so tell me all about you.
Tell me all about
I will sit here very quietly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Just feeling good. I just feel this day started weird.
Is that right?
Yes.
What happened?
That post at 9:00 in the morning started weird.
Yeah.
Which we are not going to talk. I won't even. This is the extent to what I want to talk about that on here because, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Especially don't say anything crappy.
Right.
So, but the rest of the day's been boss. It's been pretty gear. Went to the gym with my dad.
Yes.
Went to Zeke's. Got some Zeke's food. Have you been to Zeke's in Davenport? It's like island.
Wait.
It's like Jamaican and Caribbean food. It's real good.
I'm trying to think if I've seen the place because
it's on Harrison. It used to be Lumpy's. It's on Harrison, across from one of the one-ways there. Anyways,
very much recommended.
Yeah, if you like, like jerk seasoned chicken or like pulled pork, this and that.
That sounds good.
You can't go wrong there, man.
Chicken.
It's really good. But anyway.
Hell yeah, dude. You're gonna make me hungry if you keep talking about
Dude, I ate it for lunch at like 12:00, and I could eat it again right now without any hesitation. But speaking of video, I just remembered I didn't tell you that we also broadcast that live from Factory of Fear to YouTube for 8 straight hours. 5 hours
8
one night.
hours.
It was like 5 hours one night and 4 hours the next night. It was quite the undertaking. But we did it, so it was good.
That's quite a task.
Yeah, the video is useless to watch. You can see what's going on, but it's kind of useless because the audio doesn't sound like anything. Well, the audio was actually coming from my computer. It was like a rough mix down, but I didn't have anybody like actively listening to it and mixing it as it was happening.
Yeah.
Just to like catch really loud stuff and pull it down.
Right.
So the audio is whatever. But yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It was fun. I that's my jams, is to just challenge myself to see if I can do something.
Yeah, you're a very experimental guy. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't used to be so experimental. I used to be pretty focused and
what happened to you, man?
I just got tired of doing the same thing over and over. I did the same band for 10 years and then we stopped jamming out. So for about 3 years I just sort of did nothing. I didn't do anything for like 3 years. I was still kind of messing around, making my own songs and stuff, but I find the busier I am, the more I have the energy to do other things, and like it's sort of an exponential busy curve. If there's nothing to do, I don't do anything, even my own stuff, which is like whatever. Is that a martial arts trophy?
Yeah, that's my co-host's trophy.
What is it for?
Fucking karate.
It's for karate or taekwondo?
Yeah, it's karate.
Cool. I got one of those for taekwondo.
My co-host will fuck you up if you come in here on some reckless shit.
If you come in here on some reckless shit.
Taekwondo, huh?
Yeah, I got a second degree black belt in taekwondo I went from, age like 10 or whatever until 2004 or something like that. It was fun.
Ooh, you don't do it currently?
No. My teacher left the area, I think, and the other people that I was working with left the area or moved on or did other things. So I kind of lost interest, but it was a lot of fun, and it taught me a lot of stuff. Taught me a lot about myself and a lot of confidence building opportunities with taekwondo, because you gotta test in front of judges and you gotta be responsible and stuff.
It's a good experience to get your ass handed to you. Character building and shit.
Yeah. And I wasn't like it's not like full contact or anything. We're wearing pads and stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun having to remember all the information, and that's a good challenge for your brain, especially a young teenage brain that's growing, and young teenage body full of verve and vigor and needs to just punch out that energy.
Oh yeah.
So that was my jams. My parents had to drag me there a couple times when I didn't want to go. They're like, "No, we're going. I paid for these lessons. You're going to go to taekwondo." But just like in music, my parents are always at every class and always at every promotion, always at every tournament, making sure. But again, only child, so what else I have to do?
What else they have to do?
Right.
Sorry, we're at your brother's. I don't have a brother.
Sister, I'm an only child.
Look, we can't make it tonight. We're sorry.
We're just not gonna make it. You have to drive me.
Man, I never did any like karate kind of stuff when I was a kid or anything, but I've always wanted to.
Ninja Turtles, man.
That'll get you into
that.
It, right?
Will get you into the martial arts.
Definitely. I would love to get into jiu-jitsu. I think like that'd be.
Josh Kahn's friend is like high up in the black belt jiu-jitsu rankings.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's real cool. He knows how to FSU.
Yeah.
Fuck shit up.
It'd be a nice skill to learn, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
It's never
You
too
can
late.
always go to one of the jiu-jitsu schools in the Quad Cities and sign up for classes.
I'd love to. Too poor.
Mm-hmm.
Someday, yes.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. Any other hobbies? What else you be doing? Music, maybe a little acting, but
A little bit of PC gaming, but nothing to talk about. Yeah, man, I'm just a sponge, wrung dry. It's like between all the film stuff and all the audio stuff, and doing music videos for the band, all these projects and things.
yeah. So you like filming yourself and.
No, we haven't done any like, a lot of bands will do the live performance video where the band is like playing or whatever. We, myself and Andrew Edmark have a plan for a whole bunch of videos, like sort of all these little vignettes that I've got that don't necessarily have anything to do with the music.
Yeah.
Just imagery, little
little
self-contained little stories that you put them together and you have kind of an album's worth of. That's what I was gonna do. I'm hoping to put out whatever album we end up coming out with, the Factory of Fear thing, even for example, with a video component built into it on like custom VHS tapes. Yeah, which is, I don't want to give too much away about that, but finding colored VHS tapes, like, because they're not made anymore, really.
Yeah.
Finding those shells is hard.
Oh.
There's places where you can get certain colors sometimes, but otherwise you're trying to dig out like old Disney ones. Used to be like there was like a Snow White one that's white. Anyways, I've done a lot of that research.
You can dig out some of the old Nickelodeon orange ones.
The orange Nickelodeons. There's a bunch of ones that some Christian Veggie Tales or something has a bunch that are all colored like green and yellow and stuff.
Because basically you can just get it in black now. It's pretty much all you can find. It's like
you can pull the reels out and put whatever you want in there, which is what we would have to do if we built them from other things.
Like people that are making them anymore, it's just all black, I bet.
Yeah. But there's people on Instagram that do spool swaps. So they'll find like a really cool case and they'll put like, they'll find a really kick-ass orange case and they'll put Halloween in it. Or something cool like that. So that's what we're hoping to do at some point, in addition to or instead of the vinyl. I don't know, but that'll be hopefully this year. Just got to get all these mixes done and put them together and make it happen.
I know what you need. You need a 3D printer. You can maybe make some shells.
I wonder if you could.
If you could just get like the schematics, the blueprint kind of whatever, and just.
Because all it has to be is like the shape of the thing with the holes in the right spot.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
People are using 3D printing to make components for whatever, I guess. So, I wonder if you could like take a shell and like cast the parts.
I think somebody has done that. But
and then maybe you could fill it with like a bunch of like multicolored shit.
Like they're doing with vinyls, except
exactly. I would like that.
I'd be into that.
A bunch of orb. I mean, I don't know if it'd be a good idea. I don't know if it would hold up or fuck up the machine if you actually like painted one with like the right kind of paint, like airbrush or
people do those like it's like an applique that you put on water and the water dissolves it, but the ink stays in a pattern like skulls, and they like dip a gas tank in it. They've done that with VHS and it looks great. It looks cool, man. Like all skulls or like green like Slimer from the Ghostbusters pattern or something cool like that. So that's what we're gonna try to do something boss like that.
Okay, yeah. Oh, do you know what kind of paint that?
Nope, that's nerd talking. I don't have it. I don't know. I don't know the details.
Like, because I know if you wanted to make like just a trippy pattern thing, you could take like water and spray paint just on the water, you know, and then you dip it in and all, so it's all
and it
trippy
sticks.
looking. That would probably like really reek, like spray paint for a while, right? Like you'd have to.
Well, you'd have to let it dry all the way out. My goal is to do the colors of the band on the shell, and then, depending on how it goes, I would even decorate the inside of the shell just to be that guy.
You're that guy.
You could kind of see through the windows where the tape reels are. You could kind of like see.
Yeah, and when the tape is filled on one side or empty on the other side, you could have
a message here
yes.
and then a message there. Yeah, dude, that'd be fun.
You're on to something, man.
I've been thinking a lot about this. Oh, good, it's going.
Oh, thank God, finally we made it. Well, I guess we can wrap it up now since the lava lamp. No, I'm just...
All right. Yeah. Well, what time is it?
Well, we've already done we've done almost an hour and a half.
Jesus, let's go, man. We gotta.
You gotta get out of here.
I'm hungry
you
as
got
hell.
a doctor's appointment to get to or something important.
I just have to
probably.
get some food.
Same here.
Yeah.
You're taking me out, right?
I'll take
To
you wherever you
Zeke's?
want to go, baby.
Sounds good to me.
Zeke's in Davenport. Brought to you by Zeke's in Davenport.
Yeah, we're sponsored by.
Not sponsored or endorsed by Zeke's.
Not endorsed, but we can say sponsored. They don't have to agree.
Yeah.
Tell everyone how to get a hold of your stuff. All the links, all the social shits.
On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Gentle Edward Records. Or if you want to go straight to the band page, it's facebook.com/Giallows, GIALLOWS. We're also giallows.bandcamp.com, gentleedwardrecords.bandcamp.com. And that main page will bring you to like all the associated acts and stuff, and that's probably the best way to do it. And then you get a little taste of everything, just a little taste of everything. Taste it all up. You can email us at gentleedwardrecords@gmail.com.
Any questions you may have.
With any questions, yes.
Maybe someone can hit you up like, hey, I make VHS shells or something.
You know,
Get
if
at 'em.
somebody has got some colored VHS shells, especially yellow, white, and red, do hit me up, because
You need to just go to the Goodwills a lot or something, and you'll come across the Nickelodeon
dude, it is
ones
so
at
hard.
least.
It's such a like gasoline drain to keep going to the Goodwills and just hoping something good's there.
Yeah.
Like
True.
Facebook Marketplace is more efficient than going to the Goodwills. I got a single yellow tape for $2 from a lady, just as a test, you know.
Ah, yes. Nice.
But yep, get us on Facebook, and I hope I've sounded interesting enough that they want to hear us. But
Definitely.
the music is pretty alt rock delicious, as they say.
No, yeah. They love that.
Do these people like the alt rock?
You guys...
You filthy-
Yeah, they told me they did.
You filthy freaks like that alt rock?
Hell yes.
There's
Well,
no
thank you again.
alternative to rocking,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
Thanks very much for having me, man.
Of course, sir.
This is super fun and relaxed and cool in here.
It is. I try and make the room cozy, welcoming,
Visually enticing.
inviting, and relaxing. You know.
I'm into it. I like it.
Good.
All the way over here in East Moline.
That is right.
The exciting, relaxed East Moline.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Nice to
course.
see you again.
You too, man. It's been a while.
That's right. And it will never be again, apparently.
Yeah, shit.
Tune in next week.
Alrighty. Until next time, people. Goodbye.